All right, let's jump right in. Papua New Guinea is once again facing a pretty big challenge on the world's financial stage. See, the country has been put back on what's known as a gray list, and believe me, that decision has kicked off a massive debate about what this means for its economy and, more importantly, for its people.
So what is this gray list exactly? Well, you can think of it like a financial penalty box, or maybe a watch list. It's run by this group called the Financial Action Task Force, or FATF for short. And they put a country on this list when they see that it's not doing enough to fight things like money laundering or the financing of terrorism. It's basically a major warning shot telling a country, hey, you need to get your house in order and fast.
And that really brings us to the heart of the matter. This isn't Papua New Guinea's first rodeo with this list. So why are they back on it? And maybe the most important question of all, who's actually going to feel the impact of this? As we're about to see, the government and the opposition have, well, let's just say they have very different answers to that question.
Okay, first up, let's break down the government side of this. From their point of view, this isn't some big five-alarm fire. No, they're framing it as a technical issue, something manageable that has a very clear path to being fixed.
And you've got the Prime Minister, James Marape, who's tackling this thing head-on. He's openly talking about how, hey, PNG has been in this exact spot before, and they successfully got off the list back in 2015. So he's basically saying, we've done it once, we can do it again. And to prove it, he's put his state agencies on the clock, giving them a pretty ambitious one-year deadline to get this sorted.
So, the official stance from the government is, cautiously optimistic. The message they're sending out both to their own people and to the world is basically, don't panic. They're confident that as long as everyone sticks to the plan, any economic damage will be kept to a bare minimum.
And let me tell you, the plan they've put on the table is pretty specific. We're talking about amending 6 key laws, getting their finance departments to actually work together better, calling in the IMF for some expert advice, and even hiring private firms to audit the books. So you can see, these are real, tangible steps, not just vague promises.
But this is where you really see the political battle lines being drawn. The Treasurer, Ian Ling Stuckey, came out and just flat-out dismissed what the opposition is saying. He called their warnings a scare campaign. And yeah, that right there sets the stage for a completely different and much more alarming view of what's going on.
All right, so let's flip the coin and look at the other side of this story. Because for the opposition, this is not just some technical problem on a spreadsheet. No, for them, this is a direct threat to the bank accounts and wallets of everyday people.
And this really lays it all out, doesn't it? It's two completely different realities. The government sees a small, manageable problem. The opposition, they see a pinch for the people. The government talks about a technical fix. The opposition calls it a reckless pattern of neglect. I mean, the gap between these two viewpoints is just huge.
Opposition leader James Marape is really trying to drive this point home. He's arguing that this isn't some abstract problem for bankers and politicians to worry about. He's saying, look, when these reform warnings get ignored for years and years, it's the average person who ends up paying the price, literally, through a higher cost of living.
So what does that pinch actually feel like? Well, the opposition's argument boils down to this. Being on the gray list is going to make everything more expensive. They're talking about the absolute essentials: food, fuel, medicine, even school fees. All of it is going to cost more. And the kicker? Wages are expected to stay exactly the same. That's a recipe for some serious financial pain for a lot of families.
Okay, so we've got these two totally conflicting stories from the politicians. So what's actually going on? Let's bring in some expert analysis and look at the history here to try and get a reality check on the situation.
And this timeline really tells you everything you need to know. It's like deja vu all over again. PNG was on this list back in 2014. They made a bunch of commitments and managed to get off it in 2015. But then, for the next 10 years, experts say it was just a story of delayed compliance and really weak implementation. And guess what? It led them right back to square one. So this isn't a new problem at all. It's a pattern.
So why? Why did it happen all over again? Well, a recent report from 2024 pretty much spelled it out. It found some really serious gaps in the system. We're talking about not enough people being prosecuted for money laundering, not enough illegal money and assets being confiscated, and just generally weak supervision of the whole financial sector. These are the exact red flags that the FATF is pointing to.
And here's the kicker. According to the Institute of National Affairs, this isn't some problem that's coming down the road. The impact is already being felt, right now. Banks have already started tightening the screws, which means more paperwork,
annoying delays on transactions, and yep, higher costs for pretty much everyone.
So all of this brings us to the big, critical question, what happens next? On one hand, you've got a government with a very clear plan, but on the other hand, you've got a country with a clear pattern of, well, not quite getting it done.
The government has put a clock on this whole thing. The Prime Minister wants his agencies to get their act together and finalize everything within just 1 year. The bigger goal? To be completely off the gray list in 1 to 2 years. It's definitely ambitious, but at least it's a concrete target.
You know, maybe the most insightful comment in all of this comes from the Prime Minister himself. He basically said that the country's biggest, most chronic problem isn't a lack of money or a lack of know-how. It's the misuse of time, not getting things done. He's essentially admitting that the greatest hurdle they face might just be themselves and their own ability to follow through.
And that's really where we have to leave it. Papua New Guinea has a solid plan, it seems to have committed leadership, but it also has a history, a pattern of not quite crossing the finish line. So the million-dollar question for everyone, its citizens, investors, the whole world watching, is simple. Is this time going to be different? Can they finally break the cycle?